Hi, I'm Alan Alda. This boiling, sulfurous Yellowstone hot spring is absolutely teeming with life. That recent discovery may help us answer the question, where did life come from?
New pictures from deep space might help explain how did the universe begin. Faint signals from the stars. Are they messages, or are we alone? Slivers of rock from China may reveal how did the Earth get animals.
Coming, boss.
And with robots this smart, how much longer will we need people?
Join me now for life's big questions on Scientific American Frontiers.
Presentation of Scientific American Frontiers is made possible by a grant from GTE Corporation. At GTE, it's amazing what we can do together.
For our season premiere of Scientific American Frontiers, we'll be going on a fantastic journey that'll take us from the depths of a boiling volcanic hot spring to the farthest reaches of outer space. We're going to find out what science has to say about those big questions that occur to all of us from time to time, but that just seem too overwhelming to take on. Questions like, where did life come from? Are we alone in the universe? Or will robots ever take over from people? Our first big question, though, is about what you see through this. The view through an astronomical telescope is a truly fantastic sight. Everywhere you look, the sky is covered with what we non-scientists call stars. Actually, in the 1920s, the great American astronomer Edwin Hubble shocked the world when he proved that most of these points of light that we see through a telescope aren't stars at all. They're other galaxies, each one made up of billions of stars. And that's where we're going first, to the most distant galaxies to ask, how did the universe begin?
At 13,000 feet on Hawaii's Mauna Kea volcano, you can look down on the clouds. But from here, you can also look far out into the universe.
So, Sandy, this is a pretty steep road.
It's considered very dangerous because it is steep. It has a lot of washboard on it.
Tonight, Sandy Faber and Alan Dressler, two of America's leading astronomers, will be making their first observations with the Keck telescope, the newest, largest, most sensitive on Earth. It takes a 6-floor elevator ride just to get to the middle.
Okay, let's go. This is your first big
This
look.
is my first big look.
Here we go.
Wow. Huge.
Really something, huh?
It's so
Beautifully
far
curved
down.
mirror.
Yeah.
Cradled in a white steel lattice is a 30-foot wide mirror, while the front end of the telescope hangs 60 feet above. Sandy was one of the driving forces behind the Keck, and now it's ready to help astronomers become cosmic historians.
We're all very interested in our history. Is it useful to me to know that my ancestors came from Scotland and were a certain kind of people? Sure it is. That helps me understand myself. I don't stop there, though. I go back with the formation of the Earth, the formation of the solar system, the formation of the galaxy. I want to know where the universe came from. I want to know if there are other universes. Maybe ours isn't the only one. This, to me, is one grand cosmic history. I don't know where to draw the line and say it's interesting here, it's not interesting here. The whole thing, the whole grand river of time is a piece, and I love it.
Sandy and Alan are going to look back in time to see what the ancient universe was like. They're going to observe faint, distant galaxies whose light took billions of years to get here. If you look up at the Big Dipper, you can see stars, but no galaxies. They're too faint. But with a good telescope, right beside the bright nearby star, you can pick out a distant galaxy. And a more powerful telescope reveals thousands of even more distant galaxies. What is a galaxy?
Why don't we show you a picture?
Okay, all right.
This is a pretty nearby galaxy, not too far away from us, and it's a classic example of a spiral.
You say it's pretty near. What do you mean?
I'd say this one's maybe
10
8 million, 10 million light years away.
That's
near.
It's near.
That's very near.
The very nearest, Andromeda, is about 2 million light years away. So it'd take 2 million years for the light to reach us.
What is this? This is
Okay, well, let's explain what's in the picture.
Okay, yeah.
First of all these white dots that you see all around the edges are the foreground stars in our galaxy, so you have to forget about them. And the thing we're talking about is this beautiful spiral thing in the middle. Now, what this really is it's a city of stars. If we stood outside the Milky Way and looked at our galaxy, it would look something like this.
We're in a spiral galaxy.
We are in a spiral galaxy. The Milky Way is a spiral. Now, what this is first of all, there are maybe 100 billion stars in this object. You can see some of the individually brightest ones, like this. But mainly, they're just crowded together so closely that from a ground-based distant photograph, they seem to blend together and make a continuous sea.
Wow, so they're gigantic things. Huh?
They're big compared to Minneapolis.
Both the Twin Cities. Go ahead.
With the Keck, Sandy and Alan will be taking pictures of galaxies that are much farther away and therefore much older than the one they showed me. Their goal is ambitious: to test the Big Bang theory of how the universe began. According to this theory, the universe started out at time zero, unimaginably small and dense. And then came a violent expansion. This computer simulation shows how over billions of years, gravity can pull matter into clumps, which form into galaxies, stars, and planets. To test this whole idea, Sandy and Alan will be looking back in time to see if real images of the universe match up with the theory.
The Big Bang model says that the early days of the universe, it looked completely different than it does now. It was a hot, seething gas of particles, very little structure, incredibly smooth. The best way to understand it would be like being in a fog today, or maybe being actually inside a cloud. You couldn't see much around you, just sort of a white blur every place. So what we're trying to understand is how the universe went from being very smooth, almost cloud-like, to this very clumpy structure where we have stars and galaxies and planets.
Okay, the focus has changed.
Tonight at the Keck, Sandy and Alan are picking up a cluster of galaxies several billion light years away. So they're looking at the universe several billion years ago.
It's right here. But why don't we zoom in on there? Are we finished reading out?
Sandy can already see that the galaxies are a lot smaller than they are today. But the picture is too blurred to see much more than that. The blurriness comes from having to see through the Earth's atmosphere, and there's only one good way to get around that.
10, 9, and we have a go for main engine start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we have liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour on an ambitious mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope.
Excitement at the Hubble's launch in 1990 had quickly turned to disappointment when it was discovered that tiny flaws in the space telescope's mirror made it nearsighted. So in December 1993, astronauts were sent to correct the problem in spectacular style. Within days of the repair, the Hubble telescope began showing astronomers the universe as they'd never seen it before. After the images are beamed back to Earth, the first place they're seen is here at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, Maryland. Sandy and Alan waited years to use the Hubble, and now one of their first pictures is about to come in.
You sit here.
Okay, great.
So Debbie, you're going to bring up some of the pictures for us? Yep. Okay, this is a single exposure that went on for about 2,000 seconds.
Wow.
We have a couple of satellite trails on this.
This
of them.
Is that what
this is
is?
unusual,
Yeah.
isn't it?
This is not what you normally see.
Why does it show up as a line?
Well, there's sunlight bouncing off of those objects.
Oh,
and
because
they're
because
just trails.
Because this is a long time exposure.
That's
You
right.
mean that it's just lighting
So-
up all the way
Yeah.
across there.
There are many things that are distracting us here, in addition to these 2 satellite trails. All the little dots.
The dots are cosmic rays which are flying around everywhere in space and which inevitably hit the telescope's camera.
Debbie, can you put up the next picture from the same chip?
The solution is to take several pictures in the same direction, let the computer compare them, then eliminate the parts that don't stay constant. What remains will be nearby stars and distant galaxies.
Is this galaxy something you've seen before, or are you looking at it again, better,
No,
closer?
well, we've seen it from the Earth, but only as a fuzzy blob. And now we're seeing these spiral arms coming out of it. So we're seeing detail we've never seen before.
Does this have a name? Yeah.
Well, it's just one of maybe a few hundred galaxies in this one cluster. It's like a city full of galaxies.
How old is that, do you suppose?
This cluster is at about a distance of 4 billion light years. So we're seeing an image of this galaxy as it was 4 billion years ago, which is a fair way back toward the Big Bang.
Next, we went to the computer room to see the pictures after they'd been cleaned up. Now we had a clear view that went back 4 billion years in time.
So everything I'm looking at now is either a star or a galaxy, or
Right.
It's real.
Sandy and Alan challenged me with a question that went to the heart of their test of the Big Bang.
The question is, what do you see about this picture of a cluster of galaxies seen 4 billion years ago that is different, say, from this picture of a cluster of galaxies seen today?
So I should be able to look at these two and see a difference because the universe has changed in that time, is that right?
That's the
the
question.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, am I right that this is a spiral galaxy?
Right.
Yeah.
And am I right that this is a spiral galaxy
Yes.
on its side? So I'm looking at the side of the dish, right?
Right.
Exactly.
I don't see
How
any.
many slivers do you see
I
here?
don't, right off the bat, I don't see any slivers.
No.
In fact, the galaxies in this modern cluster are all egg-shaped, what astronomers call ellipticals. There are no spirals to be seen.
So the question is, what happened to them?
Well, what did happen? That's the question.
That's the question.
Well, let's,
What's the answer?
There's some evidence.
I think maybe there's a clue right there.
In the 4 billion-year-old cluster, Sandy pointed out 2 spiral galaxies that were colliding. Galaxies start out as spirals, she says, and then as gravity pulls them into groups, they blend into one another to form ellipticals. So there are fewer spirals today than in the past.
Does this changing universe, this evolving universe, throw any light on the Big Bang?
Well, in the simplest terms, it is a resounding confirmation of the idea of the Big Bang. In the Big Bang, you expect to see the universe looking different in the past than it does today, and it's clearly the case. I think there's no question. We don't understand all the details, but there's no question when you look back 4 billion years, you see differences, and from all indications, when you look further back, you see huge differences.
So now we're a little closer to understanding how the universe began, thanks to telescopes that let us see farther back in time than ever before.
I often think, as I look through a telescope, whether somebody's looking back at me.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Almost every time I observe. I
No
think
kidding.
this. Yeah.
What do you think then? What do you think if somebody's looking back at you? Is there some feeling of fellowship with that person?
I think we should make an astronomers union.
I'm wondering if you think, I wonder how they're getting their funding.
How did they get that telescope?
Right. Is their telescope bigger than mine?
Yellowstone National Park, world famous for its extraordinary hot springs. I'm hiking into the backcountry with biologists Norman Pace and Sue Barnes. For years, they've been looking for life in the bubbling pools. And recently, they discovered something totally unexpected. New clues about where life came from. Their story begins with a simple idea, that hot springs are like an echo of the Earth's earliest days.
How does this look like early Earth? It's hard to believe that it was once like this.
Well, anything that you would call an Earth was formed about 4.5 billion years ago. And the early Earth was basically a molten ball. But there was a lot of water, high pressure water, steam in the atmosphere, and eventually the Earth would have cooled, slowly cooled, and eventually it would have been cool enough that the water can condense. And so by about, say, 4 billion years ago or so, maybe 4.1 billion years ago, the Earth was basically a molten ball with a layer of about, say, a couple of miles of water all around its surface.
It was always assumed that life couldn't get started until that water cooled down to the kinds of temperatures that life seems to like today.
Thank you, sir.
Sue and Norman's research, though, is now challenging the common wisdom. Their big discoveries are coming from an uninviting place called Jim's Black Pool.
Let's map it from the lower end up toward the source.
Whenever they visit here, the first order of business is to measure the water temperatures.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, read them off.
Okay, 109, 157, 158, 158.
One
Seems
call
like
it 158.
158.
That's
Yeah.
good. Okay.
That was very exciting. I really liked it.
While 150 degrees could rapidly kill a person, closer to the underground source, it was even hotter.
169, 182, 183. I'm ignoring the decimals, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think they.
Oh, please
Whoa!
Let's map around out
I'm
here.
sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
It's not
You
fatal.
lost many
It's okay.
microbiologists.
Nope.
I saw a bleached bone up there.
Actually, bleached bones are no joke.
Okay, here we go.
Every now and again, an unfortunate bison falls into one of these pools and succumbs in minutes.
182, 180, 183. Is this whole park on a crater, a volcanic crater?
That's right. That's what Yellowstone is the remnants of a massive volcano that occurred on the order of 800,000 years ago. Blew ash all over the western United States, and this is what's left of it, and it's still pretty active.
This is
pretty
as
active.
active as it's ever going to get now?
Ever? No.
No.
We're on a
It's
very.
going
There's a
to
very
blow
thin
again, you're
crust
telling
here.
me.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
Well,
And we're
there-
standing on one of the places
It's gonna come up
where
first.
it's bubbling already.
That's right.
It seems like an impossible place for life. Yet part of Norman and Sue's big discovery is that even where it's boiling, this place is teeming with microscopic creatures.
All my life, I've been taught that if you boil the water, you'll kill anything nasty in it. And if you boil the medical instruments, you'll make them sterile.
That's certainly true for the sorts of organisms that would infect us. They would not survive the boiling. But if you evolved capable of, if you're in Fat City, if you're in such a hot environment, then it doesn't matter.
We had brought along a microscope to take a look at these heat-loving creatures.
That should be in focus.
Okay, can I look?
They didn't look like much, but the biologists assured me all these blue lines were alive.
I don't see their little faces.
They're actually sticking their little tongues out at you. You just can't tell.
Let's pull out the sample from the boiling source and work it up first.
After every trip to Yellowstone, Norman and Sue bring back samples to the lab to find out what makes these organisms tick.
Here's sediment from the boiling source.
Like all other living things, they have DNA, the genetic code of life. When Sue analyzed this DNA, she discovered that codes from the Jim's Black Pool organisms were strikingly similar to those found in every plant and animal on Earth. The only explanation could be that the hot springs creatures were the ancestors of us all.
It's very exciting to look through that microscope, even though I can't make out their features. I can hardly make out the
And that's the way that it was.
And that was the way it was. That's like looking through a time machine in a way to
In a very real
the
way.
earliest days.
In a very real way. I think that these organisms, the general properties of these organisms will be not at all too dissimilar from the nature of the earliest organisms.
Of course, life didn't stay in boiling mud forever, but that's the subject of our next story. We're in southwestern China, investigating one of the great mysteries of biology. How did animals evolve on our planet? It's a question people have been arguing about since the theory of evolution was proposed more than a century ago. Now, here in the Chinese countryside, we may finally be getting a good answer. Our journey begins with a train ride on a rainy summer morning, traveling through the rice paddies and jagged mountains of Yunnan province. In the sleeper car, we meet the scientific sleuths of our story, Harvard biologist Andy Knoll and his Chinese colleague, Yin-Lei Ming.
This rain is going to keep on through the day?
Yeah, I think this is rainy season.
The rainy season?
Yeah, usually just rain.
I hope it stops long enough that we can do
I
our work.
hope so, yeah.
In the coming days, Andy and Lei Ming hope to collect information that will explain the extraordinary moment in history when microscopic creatures evolved into animals.
We've all heard of the Big Bang, through which the universe is thought to have begun. But in biology, there's another kind of Big Bang, a Big Bang of animal evolution. Life began at least 3.5 billion years ago, but it wasn't until 580 to 570 million years ago that we see any kind of animal life. And then, in just a few million years, we have a tremendous diversification of different types of large and complicated animals. And here in China, we see one of the best available records of that biological Big Bang.
It's in the Chunjiang Hills of Yunnan, where you can see spectacular fossils of those first animals, in rocks that formed out of mud on the bottom of an ancient ocean 550 million years ago. In rocks just a little older than these, all fossils are microscopic, so this place marks the very beginning of animal life. There's been an excavation here for almost 5 years, and today Andy and Lei Ming are meeting the man behind it, paleontologist Chen Junwan.
Okay, it's in there that the event beds that really capture the fauna are found.
The real fossil hunting here takes place across the road, where 30 local women split the newly excavated rocks into thin slices. They get paid about 50 cents per fossil found, plus a bonus for unusual discoveries. The rocks are loaded with fossils.
Have these people been finding a lot of specimens?
Oh yes, the average every day can find 5 to 6 species.
Each person will find 5 to 6. So with 30 people, you can find hundreds of specimens every day.
Yeah.
I could use that kind of help in my work.
While the fossils come pouring in, Professor Chen tries to figure out what they were.
Okay, so it has 2 valves,
Yeah.
and then the animal inside was a little bit shrimp-like.
Yes.
This seems to have been a kind of combined clam and shrimp.
It has almost like a fin on it, which would help it to move through the water.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. How about this? These look like big pincers.
Oh yes, that's it's.
And this fossil has the familiar look of a lobster claw. Chen's never found a whole one, but he's got enough parts to know that these animals could get huge.
Oh, the largest one can be 2 meters long.
2 meters long.
Yeah.
That's
very
amazing.
large, big mouse, a large mouse.
And so this could eat everything else in the whole Xinjiang fauna.
Yeah.
Some of the fossils don't look like anything alive today. They're species that became extinct. The most puzzling thing about all these animals is why they evolved from their microscopic ancestors at exactly the same moment in time, in what amounts to a giant explosion of life.
People have argued about the causes of the explosion for years. And for years, one of the most popular explanations has been that until the eve of animal evolution, there simply wasn't enough oxygen available to support the biology of large animals.
The early atmosphere had almost no oxygen, but was rich in carbon dioxide from volcanoes. The carbon dioxide dissolved in the oceans where algae used it to grow, keeping the carbon and releasing the oxygen. But oxygen could never accumulate because when the algae died, the process of decay used it up, making carbon dioxide again, bringing the whole process around full circle. Of course, today there's plenty of oxygen, so at some point it must have begun building up. Did this happen right before the Big Bang of animals? That's what Andy Knoll wants to find out.
I think we're going to find just what we came to find.
Okay.
Maybe you'll even get a thesis out of it, so then we'll all be happy.
Do you feel tired?
Accompanied by Yin Lei Ming, Andy is setting out on the second leg of his journey, this time in Guizhou province. The region is famous for its rice farming, but not so much for this quarry. The limestone being excavated here dates back exactly 580 million years, right before the explosion of animal life. These rocks should contain a record of how much oxygen was around back when they formed.
Great.
The only hitch is rocks can't be tested directly for oxygen, so Andy and his colleagues will have to work indirectly. For oxygen levels to go up, something must have interrupted the cycle of growth and decay in ocean algae. But what? In the end, laboratory analysis found just what he was looking for. The rocks here contain telltale minerals that show the whole world was being hit by dramatic geological changes just before the animal Big Bang. New mountains were pushed up over much of the globe. Then cascades of water carried parts of those new mountains down to the oceans. So, as Andy Knoll sees it, the critical new factor was sediments in huge quantities.
Sediments are formed as mountains rise and are eroded, and rivers carry the sediments down into newly opening ocean basins. And as the sediments come into the shallow seas, they form a seal between the algal remains that are accumulating on the seafloor and the atmosphere. And when that seal was formed, oxygen accumulated in the atmosphere. And that seems to be what made large animals possible.
Not only did it make these ancient animals possible, but it led to all the animal life we see around us today. And that even includes us humans. In the movies, there's never been any doubt about the existence of extraterrestrials, or that someday we'll meet them. Perhaps in a bar like the one George Lucas dreamed up for Star Wars. But is life on other planets just science fiction? I discussed this with Carl Sagan, a scientist who has devoted much of his career to the search for real extraterrestrials.
The question is, if there are planets that could possibly support life, are we alone here? I imagine you feel passionately about the answer to that.
I don't know the answer, but I do feel passionately about it.
That's a great combination. Explain that.
Well, we've not found extraterrestrial life. We're just at the very earliest stages of beginning. We haven't found it yet. So it would be foolish for anyone to say that he or she is absolutely certain that there's life elsewhere. At the same time, we have a fairly good idea of the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. It's about 400 billion.
400 billion.
Right. So that's roughly speaking 100 times more than the number of people on Earth. Imagine every person had 100 stars.
And every one of those stars has
had
an unknown
some
number of
planet.
planets.
That's just in this galaxy, and there's tens or hundreds of billions of other galaxies. Put all that together, it seems laughable arrogance for humans to pretend that they're the only life and the only intelligence.
Harvard University's Paul Horowitz couldn't agree more. He's been collaborating with Carl Sagan for many years to search the sky for alien messages. His radio telescope is large enough to pull in signals from clear across our galaxy. If aliens are trying to make contact, Paul is determined to get their message.
We're the first generation on Earth that could realistically communicate across galactic distances. Contact would be the end of Earth's isolation in a very deep sense. It would be the greatest event in human history. Why am I doing it? How can you not do this experiment?
Listening for alien signals is a tricky business because there are millions of possible radio channels to scan, all full of interference caused by everything from garage door openers to spy satellites. So Horowitz had to design a special computer to recognize this interference and filter it out. Even the stars themselves produce a loud radio signal.
This is God's own signal. Radio astronomers love this stuff, and it's what they use to map out the galactic structure. We're not interested in this at all because it's not intelligent life.
As for intelligent signals from Earth, these usually have a recognizable pattern. So as the telescope systematically sweeps the skies, the computer knows what to ignore in the hundreds of millions of radio channels it's monitoring simultaneously. Since Paul began in 1989, 6 unexplained signals have gotten through the filters. All of them came from the middle of our galaxy, where most stars are. And all of them look like this, a tall, thin spike.
This is the kind of signal that gets our heart pumping. This signal came in on May 10th, 1990. It's narrow, it's strong, everything's perfect about it, except it has to come back a second time or we can't trust it.
Paul is now spending much of his time trying to pick up those 6 signals again. But if aliens really exist, they might already be receiving signals from us.
Television stations are sending signals.
And how far out does that go?
MASH is being broadcast to the stars.
I haven't gotten the check for that yet.
No, residuals are going to be hard to come by, but...
I hope that they're getting Mr. Ed. Is that really, I mean, receivable?
It gets out. It gets out.
Don't you need like big rabbit ears for that up on Venus?
If you have a big enough antenna and a sensitive enough detector, you can pick it up.
Even if there's nobody out there watching our TV, there still might be simple forms of life beyond the Earth. When we sent the Viking spacecraft to Mars in 1974, that's what we were looking for. But nothing crawled in front of the lander's camera, and dirt samples collected by the robotic arm didn't show even microscopic life. The mission did discover deep canyons as seen in this animation constructed from orbital photos. It was proof that Mars used to have running water. So maybe there was life here that's now extinct. The possibility of returning to Mars to search for fossils brings us back to Yellowstone and a boat ride on a scalding hot spring. As NASA's Jack Farmer sees it, Mars, like the early Earth, probably had lots of hot springs. If it's possible to go back to Mars and find the remains of ancient springs, and if there ever was life around them, Jack believes we'll discover many fossils because of the strange way hot springs work.
Here along the edge of this spring, we have a place where organisms are being turned into fossils before our very eyes. These orange areas are communities of microorganisms, or mats, which grow upward toward the light, creating all kinds of interesting patterns and surface textures.
Something very unusual begins to happen in the shallow edges. It's a little cooler here, causing minerals to settle out of the water, coating the microorganisms. The communities die, but their patterns remain.
If you move down this direction a little bit, you see whitish-colored gray areas where the structures have been completely preserved, essentially turned to stone. And as a result of that process, the biological information that was in the original community can be preserved for literally billions of years.
Hoping to find similar fossils on Mars, Jack has been studying satellite pictures of the planet, looking for places that could have had hot springs. So far, his favorite is this giant volcano. You can tell it's a volcano and not a meteor crater by the water channels running down the side. Jack's picked out one in particular.
On this southern flank of the volcano, there's a large channel formed that seems to originate out of nowhere. It just comes right out of the side of the volcano. It's 20 miles wide and hundreds of miles long. And it seems to have formed where water flowed out from underneath the surface and eroded its way out this direction.
If Jack has his way, someday this channel will be explored. And this is the rover that might do the exploring. Built by the Russians, it's being tested in California's Mojave Desert, where the terrain is similar to Jack's Martian channel.
Are we there yet?
Future missions to Mars will most likely be joint U.S.-Russian efforts. So scientists from both countries are participating in this dry run. Footprints are erased, so there are no extra clues for the people who will try to figure out where the rover landed from the vantage point of Mission Control some 200 miles away.
33.
A rotate command is sent by radio to the rover. At each of 6 stops, its cameras take pictures of the terrain, collecting a panorama of the landing site.
Okay, next package.
The pictures are beamed back to Mission Control and passed on to a team of geologists who have not seen the landing site. Among them is NASA's Jack Farmer and a counterpart from the Russian space program, Sasha Basilovsky. First, they assemble the full panorama, then start trying to locate the rover relative to a satellite picture of the area.
I don't know. That seems...
That's not it.
Well, if we position ourselves here, this feature right here, which is a sort of pressure ridge, would be correlated to this one here.
It means that we should be like here. But if we have all saying among Russian geologists that 8 geologists have 10 opinions. So now we are 4. So at least 5 opinions we have.
They did eventually reach agreement.
25 meters? Okay, let's spot it from here. So we're standing on this. This is
the day after the exercise, a visit to the desert will reveal whether or not they were right. Being able to figure out where you've landed and knowing which way to turn to get to your target are crucial if a Mars mission is going to have a chance of finding signs of ancient life.
So this face right here is this one.
This is that. And this is supposedly this.
Right.
When they stand on the spot they chose, the rover's panorama matches up perfectly.
Maybe you're looking through the bushes. If this, provides an indication, I would say that we stand a chance of doing pretty well. There are only a few places, I think, where one would focus to look for evidence of past life, and certainly if we can find them here in the desert, we can probably find them on Mars too.
As for intelligent life, the search continues at the Harvard Radio Telescope 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Paul Horowitz is still trying to confirm those 6 promising signals. But so far, nothing.
What you think when you look at this is, if it's really real, it's going to come back. Please come back. And it never obliges us. Never has yet. Someday it will. Someone's going to get the thrill.
Try Flaky follow.
Flaky, follow me.
Following.
There we
I
go.
don't see you.
You do see
He's got
he
it,
says,
he's got
I
it.
do see you?
No, he says I don't see you, but that's wrong.
He's obviously lying.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a little
No,
hard.
I don't know. He doesn't. Wait. Flaky, stop.
Duh.
Duh. That's a great thing to say after you nearly kill me.
Tell him to turn right. We'll follow you
Yeah,
down.
Flaky, turn right.
Turning boss.
Turning boss. I love that boss stuff, and then he steps all over my feet.
Meet Flaky, the smartest robot around. He inhabits the corridors of the Stanford Research Institute.
Does anybody object to treating it like a person? I mean, at all?
You mean...
I mean, that it's a
only-
box, you know?
Curiously enough, only the researchers.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they think that it's cheating in some ways. They know what goes on inside, and they know it's not yet really like a person. We'll see a lot of that.
Does anybody think it eventually will be like a person?
Sure.
Oh, sure?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's clear. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in intelligence. There are a lot of different facets to intelligence, and we're only starting to pick in at the edges.
Flaky, look at me.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Okay, I gotcha.
I gotcha. Yeah. Hey, watch me. I'm going here.
Flaky is a bundle of computers, watching through TV camera eyes, listening by radio.
Now, if I move too fast, what?
Yeah, it's going to lose you.
Yeah, it loses me.
Yeah.
But now it picks
It'll
me up
reacquire
again.
you, yeah.
You can talk to Flaky in a human way, but as with people, communication can break down.
Flaky, walk this way.
Okay, thanks. I'm looking, dude.
It's just a little slow
Okay.
in getting commands. Can try again.
Duh.
Flaky, come here.
Flaky's black box can't fit all the brain power he needs, so he's connected to computers all over the building.
We're a little slow. Let me check the computers and see what's going on.
Duh.
Maybe there's something wrong with the battery on this.
Duh.
Flaky, come here.
Coming, boss.
Ah, look at this. Look at this. Coming, boss. That's what I like to hear.
Imagine Flaky's
All right.
my new assistant, and today's his first day on the job.
Follow me over here. Make it snappy.
So first I'm showing him around the office.
Watch out for the wall.
Flaky's sonar sensors keep him from crashing into things.
Oh, good. It got around that corner. Good.
There.
Kurt Konelich, head of Flaky's design team, has caught up with us.
Okay.
Flaky's brain seems to be in good
Stop.
shape.
Flaky, stop.
Sure thing, boss.
Okay. Flaky, look right. Flaky, this is Karen Meyer's office.
An office, okay.
Flaky's reply meant he'd now memorized Karen's office.
So he's watching out for this wall.
He's watching out for the wall. You could try
As well as helping him avoid obstacles, Flaky's sonar is hooked up to a map-making program which creates and stores the positions of walls and doorways.
Flaky, look left. Love that nod. That's really funny. Flaky, this is John Bear's office.
Flaky now understands this doorway is John Bear's, but there's more he needs to know.
Okay, now pay attention, okay? I'm only going to tell you this once. Flaky, John Bear knows where Karen is.
Duh.
It's not. I don't know if it really understands that. Let's see.
Kurt's suggestion is to tell Flaky the same thing, but in a very precise way.
Flaky, Karen is seldom in her office, but John usually knows where she is.
Oh, that he'll understand, right? Flaky, Karen is seldom in her office, but John usually knows where she is.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no problem. Glad to help.
In fact, Flaky can understand some pretty abstract ideas. But at this point, Kurt's team had not yet given Flaky the full vocabulary he needed.
Yeah, we have some.
His
network
navigating
problems every
ability
now
is
and
not
then
yet
that are
perfect
very-
either.
Oh,
He didn't see it.
yeah, I wonder why he
Till a
didn't
little
see it.
too late.
He's shredding the documents on the shelf here. All the documents are getting pushed on the shelf. Did you ever think of working for the White House? It's not going to work. It's costing too much.
Now it's time to see if Flaky
get
can
rid of
put
some
what
of the
we've taught him
costs.
to use.
We can't. Marty, listen to me. The picture is costing too much. We haven't started shooting yet, all right? You know what this movie's going to finally cost?
To give
No,
Flaky a realistic situation to work in, I'm acting out a typical conversation from the world of show business.
I know he's got a family. Look, we have to make a movie at a certain price, okay? Fire him, fire his family. And it doesn't bother me. Look, I have the budget in the other room. It's in Karen's. Wait a minute. I'll get it for you. Wait one second. Flaky, come here.
Coming, boss.
Hold on. I'll get it for you in a second. Flaky, get the budget from Karen.
That's a big job, boss. Here I go. Heading to Karen's office.
Good. Just go do it. Don't talk so much, okay?
The first challenge is, can he find Karen's office? Looks like he's making the correct turn. And by the way, this is for real. We really did send Flaky out on his own like this.
Hi, Karen. Please give me budget file. Hi, Karen. Please give me budget file. Nobody is here. Heading to John's office.
Looks like he remembers that John usually knows where Karen is.
Where is Karen?
Flaky, she's in the front office.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Heading to front office. Please clear the hallway for me.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Karen. Please give me budget file. Hi, Karen. Please give me budget file.
Flaky, here's the file.
Duh. Could you please repeat that?
A little rough on the communication, but Flaky gets it.
Could you please repeat that? Duh. Okay, thanks. Heading to Alan Door.
All right. Look, we don't have to fire everybody, all right? No, we'll make other cuts. We'll go over the budget. The budget's on its way in. We'll go over other cuts. No, not my hotel suite. No, we don't have to cut that.
Alan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please
Wait a minute.
take
No.
the budget file.
Okay.
Alan,
why don't
are
we?
you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please take
Let's
the budget
cut the
file.
scenery. Why do we need all that scenery? We can keep my hotel suite and we'll keep the scenery. Thank you very much.
Nobody's here.
Thanks. Go rest.
Alan, are you there?
I'm here. I took it.
Please
Thanks. Take a
the
break.
budget file.
Thank you. I got the budget here. Yeah, we can look. People will keep.
Nobody is here. Heading to Alan Door.
Go take a break. Will you go have a can of motor oil or something? Relax. I hate it. He stares at me like this. It drives me crazy. All right. Okay. What can we cut? You know, we don't need you, Marty. What about this big fear of robots becoming so intelligent that they'll outsmart us, that they'll take over the earth, that they'll run everything?
Well, you saw how hard intelligence is to get. Currently, I'd say a robot like this is kind of close to the dog level.
But these creatures are the result of an astounding new idea that may soon take us from the dog level to superintelligence. Robots like Flaky must be programmed feature by feature, but not these strange things. They created themselves through a process called artificial evolution.
Evolution by itself has led to the creation of incredible complexity. Ourselves, all of the organisms in the world. This process happened on its own, at least in my opinion. There was nobody that assembled all of these wonderful things in the world. On computers, we can simulate the same process, and we can get these very complicated, very interesting things without having to understand them and assemble them.
When he first dreamed up this evolution idea, Carl Sims couldn't predict what would happen. He just gave his computer some basic parts and let his creatures go from there.
The bodies of these creatures are fairly simple. They're just made of some number of blocks. The blocks are connected by joints, which can bend or twist. The creatures also have a nervous system. They have sensors, which can sense the angle of the joints or sense contact. And the nervous system processes the signals from the sensors and tells the muscles when to move, which generates some kind of behavior. I've given it the capabilities to include all of these elements, but the computer actually decides how they're assembled and how they're used in specific creatures.
Numbers chosen randomly by the computer, the synthetic genetic code, described how the first simple creature would look and how its nervous system would be wired. Then it was put into a simulated lake and told to swim. It twitched, but it didn't get anywhere. So now the computer went to work. Using the original numbers as its base, the computer made a few random changes, the equivalent of mutations. It did this again and again, creating a new generation of 300 different offspring. Then all the offspring got a swimming test, with the best swimmers selected as the basis for the next generation.
When the computer makes mutations in the genes of these creatures, it has no idea what these mutations are going to do. Sometimes the mutations might knock out a piece of the nervous system and perhaps cause the muscles not to move anymore. But other mutations might actually improve the motion.
So from the original creature, increasingly better swimmers evolved over generations, all without any human intervention. In the end, this was the best swimmer of all. But when Carl Sims put it on simulated land, it was like a fish out of water. So, over subsequent generations, the mutation and selection process had a new goal: to walk. After 15 generations, this was the champion. Other computer runs have produced even better walkers.
Sometimes these evolving creatures would think of solutions to their goal which were completely different than I expected. In this one example, the creatures got taller and taller and taller and would simply fall over. Instead of figuring out some clever way of walking, they would fall to generate horizontal velocity. What I was telling them to do was to just move, and falling was a perfectly good solution as far as they're concerned. So this creature specialized in falling for as long as it possibly could, including doing a complete somersault.
The strength of artificial evolution is that it comes up with solutions that computer programmers could never imagine. So if the process could be applied to making robots, we might see a really smart flaky sooner than we think.
It would be nice to have something that, would learn like a little kid does. I have a little kid, and it's great to watch him learn all these things, but that's a very complicated, self-evolving system, and our robots are not
Okay,
like
now look,
that.
I know you're a scientist
like
and
that.
you're curious and you're inventive.
And I want to do this,
And you
yes.
want to make it better and better. Is there a point beyond which you don't want to go, that you're afraid that this will then gallop ahead out of control?
Will I win a Nobel Prize?
Presentation of Scientific American Frontiers is made possible by a grant from GTE Corporation. At GTE, it's amazing what we can do together.
For a transcript of this program, send $5 to Scientific American Frontiers, 70 Coolidge Hill Road, Watertown, Massachusetts, 02172. Please be sure to specify which episode you'd like.
This is PBS.